Oh boy, is this gonna be a long one. This is Battle for BFDI, episodes 1 through 16, but it's Grian's Limited Life. Each character has 24 hours. The time will be represented by colors. Green for 16 plus hours, yellow for 8 plus hours, and red for under 8 hours. If a character loses all their time, it's game over. Their time will be displayed in gray. If a character dies, they will lose an hour. If a character kills someone, they will gain 50 minutes. At the start of each episode, time will be reduced for each session. Challenge time will also be taken into account. For example, BFB 6 lasting 3 hours. Without further ado, let's begin. Episode 1. BFB starts with 64 contestants, each with 24 hours split into 8 teams. The teams are Better Name Than That, Beep, 8 names, Death Pact, meaning preventing death and creating trust, Free Food, Ions, Team Ice Cube, and the losers. Now the timer will begin. This episode lasted around half an hour, or 30 minutes. Bubble technically gets popped once by Belle, and then, well, she gets popped twice. Pie explodes. She loses an hour. Balloony, David, and the Pie Recover Center get pulled into black hole. Pin gets disassembled by 4. She loses an hour. 4, I guess, yells at Donut and Taco. Both of them lose an hour. 4 also screeches or yells at Pillow. She loses an hour. 4 screeches / yells at Tree and Clock. They both lose an hour. Foldy gets shredded by the basket as Fries tries to launch her onto it. So yeah, she loses an hour as well. 4 also screeches at Lollipop. She loses an hour. Balloony deflates himself to give his team's basket 2x. And he also loses an hour as well. Blocky kills Tennis Ball and Golf Ball. So TB and GB will lose an hour each, and Blocky will gain 30 minutes for both Tennis Ball and Golf Ball. Now, both of the times when Blocky technically kills TB and GB are basically separate. The time where Golf Ball is, I guess, dead, well, kind of happens like after, but still, all the teams are technically doing the contest at the same time? Yeah. Ice Cube and Lollipop melts, and Teardrop evaporates. They all lose an hour. Taco gains 1 hour 30 minutes. This is an interesting scene. Book gets burned in the lava. She loses an hour, while Taco gains 30. Bubble loses 2 hours, while Belle gains 30 minutes. Pie loses 1 hour. Balloony and David lose an hour, while Black Hole gains an hour. Pin loses an hour. Donuts and Taco lose an hour. Pillow loses an hour. Tree and Clock lose an hour. Lollipop loses an hour. 40 loses an hour. Fries gains 30 minutes. Balloony loses an hour. golf ball and tennis ball lose an hour, Floppy gains an hour. Ice Cube, Teardrop, Lollipop lose an hour, Taco gains an hour 30 minutes, Book loses an hour, Taco gains 30 minutes. Here's the table as of BFB 1. Episode 2. This episode lasted around 10 minutes. Katie and Taco had died in episode 1. They lose an hour, Taco will gain 30 minutes. Clock halt. And 4 on screen. Taco was eliminated with 4,595 votes. Lollipop gets punished by Marker and Stapy. She loses an hour while Stapy gains 30. Cloudy drops a Jawbreaker and crushes Roboti. Roboti loses an hour, Cloudy gains 30. Leafy inflates Balloony too much, causing him to pop. Balloony loses an hour while Leafy gains 30 minutes. Whoa! Free! So Gatey, Taco, and Clock lose an hour. Taco gains 30 minutes. Pencil falls in the 64th place. Lollipop loses an hour. Tapey gains 30 minutes. Roboti loses an hour. Cloudy gains 30 minutes. Balloony loses an hour. Leafy gains 30 minutes. Here's the table as of BFB episode 2. Session 3. This episode lasted around 15 minutes. Gelatin kills Pie by throwing a fork, and Pie explodes. Skeleton also kills Pen by throwing a fork, which results in Pen, Skeleton gets zapped by 4. Payload also shows the health bar. Leafy is eliminated with 6,926 votes, causing her to fall into 63rd place. So Bombi explodes, he loses 1 hour. Lightning zaps Flower. She kinda technically loses an hour. I guess Taco dies in this scene, I don't know what happened. She kinda loses an hour. So that means Pie loses an hour, Skeleton gains 30 minutes. Pen loses an hour, Skeleton gains 30 minutes. Skeleton loses an hour. Leafy falls in the 63rd place. Excuse me. Flower loses an hour, Lightning gains 30 minutes, Bombi loses an hour, Taco loses an hour. Here's the table as of BFB 3. And if you want to see everyone's time, you can just pause the video in case you want to see it for each of the episodes. Session 4. This episode lasted 15 minutes. Race Letty leads with 9,168 votes. And Grace Letty falls into 62nd place. Lightning zaps Robot Flower, Ruby, Barf Bag, Spongy, Fire Jr., Bombi, Gelatin, Snowball, Light, and Uriasa. They each lose an hour. Lightning gains 5 hours. Grace Letty falls in the 62nd place. Robot Flower, Ruby, Barf Bag, Spongy, Fire Jr., Bombi, Gelatin, Snowball, Light, and Eraser each lose an hour while Lightning gains 30. Lightning also zaps Bell. He loses an hour. Lightning gains 30 minutes. Woody also got punctured by Mary in that scene, so he loses an hour and Mary gains 30 minutes. Here's the table as of BFB 4. Session 5. This episode lasted around 10 minutes. Score, Squeaky yells at Pen twice, and he loses 2 hours. So, yeah. And also Penn is still safe in the elimination. 4 yells / screeches at Tree. Tree loses 1 hour. Bubble pops off screen. She loses an hour. Light Switch is eliminated with 7,553 votes. 4 screeches at Lollipop, and she loses an hour. 4 Zaps, Lightning, and Black Hole, they both lose an hour. So that means Penn loses 2 hours, Tree loses an hour, Bubble loses an hour, Light falls into 61st place, Lollipop loses an hour, Lightning and Black Hole lose an hour. Here's the table as a BFB 5. Session 6. This episode lasted around 15 minutes, but the challenge lasted 3 hours or 180 minutes. We will subtract 3 hours from the timer for everyone who is still playing. Lollipop is now the first yellow name. Finally, we have the first yellow character. 4 screeches at Yellow Face, disassembles Foldy, and zaps Stiffy. All 3 of them lose 1 hour each. 4 gets replaced by Donut in multiplication again. Donut is apparently valued as 0. Robody is out with 8,254 votes. Yellow Face, Foldy, Stapy all lose an hour. Robody falls in the 60th place. Here's the table as of BFB 6. Episode 7. This episode lasted around 10 minutes. Loser is eliminated with 12,062 votes. Oh my. Loser falls into 59th place. Donut crushes Taco. She loses an hour. Donut gains 30. Stevie pops Balloony. Balloony loses an hour. Stevie gains 30. Woody rips 40. 40 loses an hour. Woody gains 30. Nearly punctures Bell. Bell loses an hour. Nearly gains 30. Nito punctures Nearly. Nearly loses an hour. Nito gains 30. Remote explodes near Pillow and Pen. Pillow and Pen lose an hour. Remote gains an hour, but loses 1 because she exploded. Taco loses an hour. Donut gains 30 minutes. Balloony loses an hour. Stevie gains 30 minutes. 40 loses an hour. Woody gains 30 minutes. Bell loses an hour. Nearly gains 30 minutes. Nearly loses an hour. Needle gains 30 minutes. Excuse me. Pillow and Pen lose an hour. Remote gains an hour but loses it. Here's the table as of BFB 7. Session 8. We've reached the halfway point. This episode lasted 10 minutes. 8-Ball leads with 4,814 votes, while being crushed by the moon. Eight-Ball falls in the 58th place. Donut technically gains 30 minutes, while 8-Ball loses an hour. Donut plays a recording of 4's screeching. Because this affects him, Donut loses an hour. So, he loses an hour. Here's the table as a BFB 8. Episode 9. This episode lasted 10 minutes. Stapy is eliminated with 9,028 votes. and the votes were sent backwards in this episode. Staby falls in the 57th place. Here's the table as of BFB 9. Session 10. This episode lasted around 10 minutes. David is eliminated with 11,292 votes. David falls into 56th place. Bubble pops. She loses an hour. Nelly was accidentally disassembled. She loses an hour. Donut gains 30. Bubble loses an hour. Nelly loses an hour. Donut gains 30 minutes. Here's the table as of BFB 10. Episode 11. This episode lasted around 10 minutes. Leafy rejoins with 13,835 votes. So Leafy rejoins and she joins the losers team. To compensate for absence, Leafy will lose 255 minutes or 4 hours and 15 minutes. Snowball suplexes Fanny. Fanny loses an hour, while SB gains 30 minutes. Flower blows high up while ascending the staircase. Fanny loses an hour. Snowball gains 30 minutes. Pie loses an hour, and Flower gains 30 minutes. Here's the table as of BFB 11. BFB 12. This episode lasted around 10 minutes. Match is eliminated with 12,758 votes. Match falls in the 55th place. Bubble gets popped by Snowball. She loses an hour while Snowball gains 30. Bubble gets popped by Snowball again. She loses an hour while Snowball gains 30. Tree shatters bottle. She loses an hour while Tree gains 30. Bubble loses an hour. Snowball gains 30 minutes. Again. Bottle loses an hour. Tree gains 30 minutes. Here's the table as of BFB 12. BFB 13. This episode lasted around 25 minutes. Fire Jr. is eliminated with exactly 10,000 votes. Fire Jr. falls in the 54th place. Bubble gets popped. She loses an hour. Flower gains 30. So Bubble loses an hour and Flower gains 30 minutes. BFB 13 and 14 is a two-part special. Let's continue with episode 14. Session 14. The two-parter continues with BFB 14. This episode lasted around 25 minutes. Donut helps Spongy, but he falls in the lava. Donut loses an hour. Zombie explodes. He loses an hour. Yeah. One of the best animated parts in this episode, I guess. Rocky eats and throws up Nickel. Nickel loses an hour, Rocky gains 30. Ruby, Fanny, Barfback, Snowball, and Lightning all get burned. They all lose an hour. Book saves Taco and Ice Cube, but she gets burned. Book loses 1 hour. As implied by Kick, everyone on the losers except him and Courtney had burned in lava. Several of the recommended characters got burnt as well. And by several recommended characters, I mean a lot of them. A lot of people really recommended a lot of characters. Balloony burns in lava. He loses an hour. Cloudy and Rocky burn in lava. They both lose 1 hour each. Golf ball burns in lava. She loses an hour. Cake burns in lava. He loses an hour. Nearly doesn't really count because she's metal. Lollipop saw Gaiety, Dora, and Teardrop burn in lava. They each lose an hour. Donut loses an hour. Bombi loses an hour, becoming yellow. Nickel loses an hour. Rocky gains 30 minutes. Ruby, Fanny, Barfbag, Snowball, and Lightning all lose an hour. Book loses an hour. Clock, Eggy, Fanny, Fiery, Leafy, Needle, and Pin lose an hour. I didn't know why I said Fanny. Balloony loses an hour. Cloudy and Rocky lose an hour. Golf Ball loses an hour. Cake loses an hour. Lollipop, Saw, Gaiety, Dora, and Teardrop all lose an hour. Wait! A lot of something wrong in that episode. Here's the table as of BFB 14. Episode 15. This episode lasted around 15 minutes. Whew. Flour pushes Gelatin into lava. Gelatin loses an hour. Flour gains 30 minutes. So Gelatin loses an hour and Flour gains 30. Dora is eliminated with 11,109 votes. And Lollipop stays. Dora falls into 53rd place. Gaiety gets burned. She loses an hour. Gaiety loses 1 hour. Here's the table as of BFB 15. Episode 16. This episode lasted around 15 minutes. Basketball gets caught by 4. She loses 1 hour. Ruby and Barfbag also died prior to this. Both of them lose 1 hour. Basketball, Ruby, and Barfbag lose an hour. Spongy is eliminated with 22,845 votes. The most ever in all of BFB 1 through 16. Spongy falls into 52nd place. Spongy and Loser return and escape 4. I guess, like the title of the episode says. Yeah. Just like Leafy's rejoin, time will be reduced for Spongy and Loser. Spongy won't lose any time since he was eliminated this episode. Loser will lose 115 minutes or an hour and 55 minutes. 2 splits the show. 40 characters leave BFB for Teapot or the Power of 2. And the rest go elsewhere on Earth. Yeah. 40 characters leave and 14 people remain in BFB. If this is the outcome of BFB Limited Life, then who wins? Lucky wins Limited Life with 18 hours and 20 minutes. Flower is in 2nd place with 17 hours 50. Loser is in 3rd place with 17 hours 35. Leafy, Woody, and Taco are all in 4th place with 16 hours 50. Gelatin, Spongy, and Fiery are in 7th place with 16 hours 20 minutes. Teardrop is in 10th place with 15 hours 20 minutes. Ruby is in 11th place with 14 hours 20 minutes. Balloony and Lollipop are in 12th place with 12 hours 20 minutes. And Bubble is in 14th place with 10 hours 20 minutes. Credits given to Grian for Limited Life, Polypons for the custom BFDI icons used, and Jack and Jellify for the BFB series. Stay tuned for BFB 17 through 30, but it's Secret Life series. Life series season 5.